Hey everyone, tonight we're diving into something heavy. The reality of being a married woman in Victorian England. No romance novels here. Just the brutal truth of legal erasure, trapped lives, and the women who survived it all. Before we begin, take a second to like and subscribe if this kind of content speaks to you, and drop a comment. Let me know where you're watching from and what drew you to this story. Now get comfortable. Maybe grab some tea. This one's long, it's raw, and it matters. Let's step back in time together and bear witness to a chapter of history that too many people never talk about. Congratulations. You are getting married. The words arrive like a sentence, wrapped in silk and delivered with smiles. Your mother weeps with joy. Your father nods with satisfaction. Your sisters cluster around you, touching the fabric of your trousseau, whispering about your good fortune. You are 17, and your life as a person with legal rights ends in 6 weeks. The engagement is announced in the Times. Your name appears in print for what may be the last time as a separate entity. Soon you will be Mrs. Someone Else, and that is not a courtesy title. It is a legal erasure. The law calls it coverture, which sounds almost protective, like a blanket. It is not a blanket. It is a shroud. Your fiancé is 32. You have met him 4 times, always chaperoned. He has kind eyes, your mother says. He has a respectable income. Your father confirms. He has hands that seem too large when he helps you into the carriage, and a laugh that doesn't reach those kind eyes. But these observations you keep to yourself, because you are a good daughter, and good daughters do not question their father's arrangements. The preparations consume your final weeks of legal personhood. There are fittings for the wedding dress, white to symbolize your purity, tight enough to require help breathing. There are lessons from your mother, delivered in the morning room with the curtains half drawn, about your wifely duties. She speaks in euphemisms and blushes, telling you to be obedient, to be still, to think of England. She does not tell you that your body will no longer be your own. She does not tell you that the law will give your husband ownership of your flesh as surely as it gives him ownership of your father's wedding gift of £300. You practice signing your new name. The letters feel foreign, like a language you are being forced to learn. Your hand cramps. You wonder if this is what it feels like to disappear. The wedding day arrives with grey skies and cold rain. You stand in your childhood bedroom, corseted so tightly that your ribs ache, while your sisters button you into the dress. You look at your reflection and barely recognize yourself. You look like a doll, pretty and painted and empty. Your youngest sister, only 12, asks if you are happy. You tell her yes, because what else can you say? That you are terrified. That you feel like a prisoner being led to a cell disguised as a church. That last night you lay awake calculating whether you could survive if you ran, and realized you could not, because a woman alone is a woman ruined, and ruin is worse than marriage, or so everyone says. The ceremony is mercifully brief. You speak the words that legally unmake you. I do. I will. I promise to obey. The ring slides onto your finger, gold and heavy as a shackle. The vicar pronounces you man and wife, and there it is, the linguistic erasure. He is still a man, individual and whole. You are now a wife, defined entirely by your relationship to him. Your husband kisses you in front of everyone, his mouth hard and possessive, and people applaud. The wedding breakfast is a blur of congratulations, and cake you cannot eat, because your corset makes swallowing difficult. Women smile at you with expressions you cannot quite read. Pity. Relief that it is you and not them. Older women pat your hand and tell you it gets easier. They do not specify what it is. You do not ask. Your new husband drinks champagne and accepts congratulations from men who clap him on the back and make jokes you do not understand, but that make your stomach clench anyway. Then you are in a carriage, alone with him for the first time. He sits too close. His hand rests on your knee, proprietarily. He tells you that you look beautiful, that he is pleased with his choice. His choice. As if you were a horse at auction, examined for teeth and temperament. You smile because you have been trained to smile. Your face aches from smiling. The house that will now be your home is large and dark. Your husband carries you over the threshold, and the servants applaud. They are strangers. This is a strange place. You are a stranger to yourself. Your trunks have already been unpacked by a maid you have never met. Your clothes hang in a wardrobe that is not yours because nothing is yours anymore. The law is explicit. Everything you own, everything you will ever own, everything you might inherit, all of it belongs to your husband now. You are not permitted to sign contracts. You cannot keep your own earnings if you work. You cannot open a bank account. You cannot sue anyone. You cannot be sued. Because you do not legally exist separately from your husband. You have become a legal ghost, visible but incorporeal, present but powerless. Your husband shows you the house. Here is the drawing room where you will receive callers. Here is the dining room where you will host dinners. Here is the nursery, empty now but not for long if he has his way, and he says this with a smile that makes your skin crawl. Here is your bedroom. The bedroom. The room with the large bed that dominates the space like a threat. He tells you to dress for dinner. The maid appears, a woman twice your age with gentle hands and sad eyes. She helps you out of your wedding dress and into an evening gown. She does not meet your eyes. She has seen this before, you realize. She has dressed countless new brides, prepared them like sacrifices. You wonder what happened to them. Those other girls. You wonder if they survived. Dinner is formal despite it being just the two of you. Your husband sits at the head of the table, you at his right hand, close enough to touch. He orders wine. He orders the courses. You are not consulted. He tells you about his work, something to do with investments and railways. You try to listen, but your mind keeps drifting to what comes after dinner. He notices your distraction and mistakes it for nerves, which it is, but he finds it charming. He likes that you are frightened. You can see it in his eyes. After dinner, he dismisses the servants early. He pours himself brandy. He does not offer you any. He stands behind your chair and puts his hands on your shoulders. His breath smells of alcohol and meat. He tells you it is time to retire. Your legs barely hold you as you stand. In the bedroom, the maid has already been. The lamps are lit low. The bed is turned down. There is a white nightgown laid out, thin and nearly transparent. Your husband tells you to put it on. He does not leave the room. He sits in a chair and watches while you stand there frozen. He makes an impatient gesture. He reminds you that you are his wife now. He reminds you that you promised to obey. Your hands shake as you begin to undress. The maid is not here to help. You struggle with the buttons, the laces, the hooks and eyes of Victorian engineering designed to keep women trapped in layers of fabric. Your husband watches. He drinks his brandy and watches you fumble and flush with shame. When you are finally in the nightgown, shivering despite the fire in the grate, he stands. He is so much larger than you. He crosses the room, and you fight the instinct to back away, because there is nowhere to back away to. This is his house. This is his room. You are his wife. What happens next is not love. It is not gentle. It is legal. That is what makes it bearable for him and unbearable for you. He has the law on his side, and the law says he can do whatever he wishes with your body, because your body is his property now. You could scream, and no one would help you. You could fight, and it would change nothing. Marital rape is not a crime. It is not even a concept. It is simply marriage. Afterward, he falls asleep quickly, snoring softly, one arm thrown over you like a bar. You lie awake and stare at the ceiling, and try not to cry because crying might wake him, and you cannot bear for him to wake. Your body hurts in ways you did not know it could hurt. There is blood on the sheets, and you feel ashamed, even though you know this was expected. This was the point, the proof of your purity and his possession. This is the first night of the rest of your life. The days develop a pattern. You wake when your husband wakes, though you barely sleep. You dress in clothes that restrict your breathing and your movement. You breakfast with him, while he reads the newspaper, and you are not permitted to read it, because such topics are not suitable for female minds. He goes to his office or his club. You remain at home because respectable married women do not go out unaccompanied. You try to occupy yourself. You embroider, though you hate embroidery. You write letters, though you must be careful what you say, because your husband sometimes reads them before they are posted. You read novels, but only ones he approves of. You practice the piano, but not too loudly because it disturbs his thinking when he works from home. You manage the household, but only nominally, because the housekeeper has been here for 20 years and makes it clear she answers to your husband, not to you. The servants are polite but distant. They know what you do not yet fully understand. You have no real power here. You cannot hire them or fire them. You cannot access the household accounts. You can request things. Your husband must approve all expenditures. You are less a mistress of the house than another piece of furniture, decorative and occasionally useful. Your husband returns for dinner each evening. Sometimes he is pleased with you, and the evening is almost bearable. He tells you about his day, about men you do not know making decisions about things you are not supposed to understand. He tests you sometimes, asking your opinion, but you have learned quickly that he does not actually want your opinion. He wants you to echo his own thoughts back to him, perhaps phrased more softly, more femininely. When you do this successfully, he pats your hand and calls you his clever girl. When you forget and offer a genuinely different perspective, his face darkens and the rest of the evening is tense, and you pay for your mistake later. In the bedroom, where he reminds you wordlessly that you are not his equal, you are his possession. Sometimes he is displeased with you, and you do not know why. The dinner is wrong, though you did not cook it. The house is not warm enough, though you cannot control the servants who tend the fires. Your dress is too plain or too elaborate. Your hair is unflattering. You spoke too much at the last dinner party or not enough. The criticisms pile up like stones, and you carry them all, growing heavier each day. You learn to read his moods. You become an expert in the subtle signs, the set of his jaw, the way he holds his newspaper, the tone of his voice when he greets you. You learn to make yourself small when he is angry, to be soothing and soft-voiced, to never contradict, to agree and apologize even when you have done nothing wrong. This is survival. This is marriage. 3 months pass. 4. Your monthly bleeding does not come, and you know what this means. You tell your husband, and he is delighted. He places his hand on your still, flat stomach and calls you his good wife. He tells you he hopes for a son. You do not tell him that you hope you survive. Pregnancy is both prison and performance. You are supposed to be delighted, glowing, fulfilled by the promise of motherhood. You are supposed to retreat from society, to become invisible in your confinement. The irony is not lost on you. You were already invisible legally. Now you must be invisible socially as well. The sickness starts immediately and does not stop. You vomit every morning, sometimes all morning. Your husband is sympathetic for approximately 3 days, then irritated by your weakness. He moves to a separate bedroom, ostensibly to allow you to rest. But you suspect he simply does not want to be disturbed by your retching. You are grateful for his absence, even as you are ashamed of your gratitude. Your body betrays you in new ways. Your breasts ache. Your back aches. Your feet swell until none of your boots fit. Your corset must be let out again and again. A weekly humiliation as the seamstress measures your expanding body. You are not supposed to be seen like this, growing and grotesque. When visitors come, you receive them in the drawing room, wearing loose tea gowns that hide your shape. And everyone pretends not to notice your condition, even though it is the only reason anyone is visiting at all. Your mother comes to stay for a week. You think at first that this will be a comfort, but she spends most of her time instructing you on your failures. Your household management is insufficient. Your needlework is sloppy. Your attitude toward your husband is not sufficiently grateful. She reminds you that you are lucky to have married well, that many women have far worse situations, that marriage is a woman's highest calling, and you should embrace your role with joy rather than complaint. You have not complained. You have not said a word about your misery. But apparently your face betrays you, because your mother takes your hand and tells you in a tight voice that it is a sin to be unhappy, that God has ordained this as your place. That suffering in childbirth is woman's punishment for Eve's sin, and you should accept it with Christian forbearance. She tells you that she too found marriage difficult at first, but that you adjust, you learn to bear it. She does not say the word endure, but it hangs in the air between you like smoke. After she leaves, you feel more alone than ever. Even your mother, the woman who raised you, cannot help you, or will not. You are not sure which is worse. The pregnancy advances with agonizing slowness. 6 months. 7. Your body is unrecognizable. You cannot walk without waddling. You cannot sit comfortably. You cannot sleep because the baby kicks and presses on your bladder and your lungs. Your husband has entirely lost interest in you. He stays late at his club. He comes home smelling of cigars and sometimes perfume that is not yours. You do not ask questions. Wives do not ask questions. The women who visit you talk about childbirth in hushed voices, as if speaking of it too loudly might summon it prematurely. They tell you stories meant to be encouraging, but that terrify you instead. Their sister who labored for 3 days. Their cousin who never quite recovered. Their friend who died, and everyone says it so casually, she died in childbed. As if this is as normal as dying of old age. The statistics are not spoken aloud, but everyone knows them. 1 in 100 births kills the mother. Maybe more. No one keeps careful count. You ask your doctor about pain relief. You have heard that Queen Victoria herself used chloroform during her later confinements, that there are methods to ease the suffering. The doctor, an old man with cold hands and disapproving eyes, tells you that pain in childbirth is natural, that it is God's will, that strong women bear it without complaint. He does not say that he disapproves of the Queen's choices, but his tone implies it. He pats your hand and tells you that you will be fine. That women have been doing this since Eve, and look how that turned out. You think but do not say. Your husband agrees with the doctor. He does not want you stupefied with drugs. He wants you conscious and aware. He does not say why. You suspect he does not want to pay for the chloroform, which is expensive and requires a specialist. You have no money of your own to pay for it. You have no money of your own for anything. Every penny you spend is his penny, doled out or withheld at his discretion. The waiting is its own torture. Every twinge might be the start of labor. Every ache might be the beginning of the end, yours or the baby's or both. You are not supposed to think such dark thoughts. But how can you not when everywhere you look there is evidence of the danger? The church graveyards are full of women who died young. Their stones carved with sleeping lambs to indicate the babies who died with them. Your own grandmother died in childbed. Your husband's mother barely survived his birth and was never quite well afterward. This is the reality of womanhood in 1850s. You survive or you do not, and either way you have no choice in the matter. 8 months. 9. You are enormous and exhausted and frightened all the time. The baby's movements feel less like kicks now, and more like it is trying to escape. You understand the feeling. You dream of running away, of taking a ship to America or Australia, of starting over somewhere no one knows you as Mrs. Anyone. But you cannot run. You can barely walk. And even if you could, where would you go? A pregnant woman alone would be assumed to be a fallen woman, a prostitute or someone's abandoned mistress. You would be shunned, unemployable, helpless. The baby would be born a bastard. You would both likely die in a workhouse. So you stay, you wait. You grow larger and more afraid. And you say nothing because there is nothing to say, and no one who would listen if you said it. The labor begins on a Tuesday afternoon, 3 weeks before you expected it. You are in the drawing room, pretending to read, when your water breaks in a humiliating gush that soaks your dress and the chair. The maid runs for the midwife. Your husband is sent for. You are helped upstairs to your bedroom, the sheets already protected with rubber sheeting that crinkles obscenely under your weight. The midwife arrives, a stout woman with capable hands and an indifferent expression. She examines you with no ceremony or gentleness. She tells you it will be hours yet. She tells you to save your strength. She does not offer any comfort or kindness. This is a job to her, a routine task. Whether you live or die is of professional interest only. The pain starts slowly, a dull ache in your back, but it builds with terrifying speed. Within an hour you are gripping the bedposts and trying not to scream. The midwife tells you not to make a fuss. That screaming wastes energy. Your husband appears briefly, looks uncomfortable, and retreats. Men do not attend births. Birth is women's business, women's suffering. He will wait in his study with brandy and cigars and return when it is over, one way or another. The hours blur together. The pain comes in waves, each one worse than the last. You do scream, despite the midwife's disapproval. You cannot help it. The pain is beyond anything you imagined. It feels like you are being torn apart from the inside. The midwife checks your progress periodically, her hands rough and invasive. She tells you that you are not progressing fast enough. She gives you foul, smelling tea that makes you vomit. She tells you to push even though your body is not ready. She tells you to stop screaming, that you are disturbing the household. Between contractions, you float in a haze of exhaustion and terror. You think about dying. You think about all the women who died doing exactly this, in rooms like this, attended by midwives like this one, who seemed more concerned with efficiency than survival. You think about your mother's words about God's punishment. You wonder what you did to deserve this. You were a good daughter. You are a good wife. You obeyed. You submitted. And still you are here, suffering, possibly dying, because Eve ate an apple thousands of years ago. The pain reaches a crescendo. The midwife is shouting at you to push. You push even though it feels like your body is splitting in two. You push until you taste blood in your mouth, from biting your own tongue. You push until you are certain you are dying, until the world narrows to nothing but pain and pressure, and the midwife's voice telling you to push harder, push longer, push more, and then, suddenly, release. A rush of fluid and blood and something else. A cry, thin and angry. The baby, you have a baby. You are alive. These two facts seem equally impossible. The midwife holds up a red, squalling thing covered in blood and white substance. A boy. She announces, as if you care, as if you can focus on anything beyond the fact that the pain has stopped and you are not dead. She wraps the baby roughly and hands it to a maid. She returns her attention to you, delivering the afterbirth, pressing on your stomach in a way that makes you cry out all over again. She is checking for hemorrhage, you realize. She is trying to determine if you are going to bleed to death in the next few minutes. You do not bleed to death. The midwife seems faintly surprised by this. She packs you with cloths and tells you to rest. She takes the baby away to be cleaned. You are left alone in the ruined bed, shaking with shock and relief and pain that has not entirely subsided, only changed form. Your husband comes in. He glances at you briefly, then focuses on the baby that the maid has brought back, now clean and wrapped in white linen. A son, he says, satisfied. He holds the child awkwardly for a moment, then returns it to the maid. He tells you that you did well. He does not touch you. He does not ask how you are. He leaves after 3 minutes, returning to his study, to his brandy, to his life that has barely been interrupted by your near-death experience. You lie in the bed and stare at the ceiling, and try to process what has just happened. You have given birth. You have survived. You have a son. These should be joyful facts, but you feel nothing. You are too exhausted for feeling. Your body is a stranger, battered and broken, and still bleeding despite the midwife's packing. You hurt everywhere. You will hurt for weeks, you know this. The midwife told you before she left. She gave you instructions about binding your breasts, if you choose not to nurse, about caring for your stitches, about when you can expect your husband to resume his marital rights. 6 weeks, she said, though some men do not wait that long. You started crying at that, and she looked at you with something that might have been pity or might have been contempt, and told you that this is what you signed up for when you married. The baby cries. A wet nurse has been hired. You do not have to feed the child yourself, which is both a relief and a strange loss. The baby is taken to the nursery. You are left in your room. You sleep fitfully, waking to pain and the memory of pain. The days after birth are their own special hell. Your body leaks from every orifice. Blood and milk and other fluids you did not know existed. You wear pads that need constant changing. You cannot walk without help. You cannot sit comfortably. The stitches pull and burn. You develop a fever on the 3rd day, and the doctor is summoned. He examines you and announces that you have childbed fever, which is often fatal. He prescribes bed rest and prayers. You survive the fever, though you do not remember much of the next week. You drift in and out of consciousness, burning and shivering and delirious. Your husband does not visit. He is protecting himself from contagion, you are told. The wet nurse has taken the baby to her own home for safety. You are alone with your fever, and the servants who tend you with expressions of tired resignation. You are not the first woman they have nursed through childbed fever. You will not be the last. When the fever breaks, you are weak as a newborn yourself. It takes another 2 weeks before you can walk unaided. Your husband is impatient with your slow recovery. He wants his house returned to normal. He wants his wife returned to him, functional and decorative. You do your best. You get up before you are ready. You dress in clothes that hurt your still healing body. You come downstairs for dinner and make conversation and pretend that you are fine. The baby is brought home. You hold your son and feel nothing. You know you are supposed to feel overwhelming love, maternal instinct, natural affection. You feel tired. You feel sore. You feel cheated. This child, this boy, he will grow up to be a man. He will have rights and freedoms you will never have. He will own property. He will vote. He will never have to endure what you endured to bring him into the world. You resent him. You are ashamed of your resentment, but it sits in your chest like a stone. Your husband, meanwhile, is delighted with his son. He shows the baby off to his friends. He talks about the boy's future, about education and career and legacy. The baby is 3 weeks old. Your husband has already planned his entire life. No one asks what you want for the child. No one cares. You are the mother. Your role is finished. You grew him and birthed him and survived. Now you are expected to step back and let the men make decisions about his raising, his education, his future. 6 weeks after the birth, your husband appears in your bedroom. You have not shared a room since early in your pregnancy. He has been patient, he tells you, but his patience has limits. The doctor has cleared you for relations. It is time to resume your wifely duties. You are not healed. You are held together with stitches and hope. But healing does not matter. Your husband's desires matter. The law matters. You lie back and endure, and try not to cry out, because crying out seems to excite him, and you cannot bear to give him that satisfaction. Afterward, he tells you that you should try to be more enthusiastic. He has been patient, after all. He could have insisted earlier. Some men do. You should be grateful for his restraint. You are not grateful. You are empty. This becomes your life. You exist in a cycle of pregnancy, birth, recovery, pregnancy. Your second child comes 14 months after your first. A girl this time. Your husband is less interested in her. Daughters are disappointments, expensive and ultimately someone else's property once they marry. You name her Catherine, but your husband calls her the girl. The second birth is no easier than the first. You labor for 18 hours. The baby gets stuck. The midwife uses forceps, brutal metal instruments that leave bruises on the baby's head and tear you in new and horrifying ways. You hemorrhage afterward and nearly die. The doctor performs some procedure that you are not conscious for, and that no one will explain afterward. All you know is that there is more pain, always more pain, and that your body is becoming a collection of scars and damaged tissue. Your daughter is weak. She does not nurse well, even from the wet nurse. She cries constantly. Your husband complains about the noise. You rock her at night. This tiny screaming thing, and you feel a kinship with her that you do not feel with your son. She is female. She is doomed to suffer as you have suffered. You hold her and cry and hope that somehow the world will be different by the time she grows up, though you do not believe it will be. The third pregnancy comes before your daughter is a year old. Your body has not recovered from the second birth. You are anemic and exhausted. You beg your husband to be careful, to give you time to heal. He reminds you that procreation is a wife's duty. He reminds you that he needs heirs, that 2 children are not enough when infant mortality is so high. He reminds you, without words but with actions, that your body is his to use as he wishes. This pregnancy is complicated from the start. You spot blood throughout. The baby sits wrong. Your organs are compressed, damaged from the previous births. You can barely breathe. You cannot eat. You lose weight even as the baby grows. The doctor shakes his head and says nothing helpful. Rest, he suggests. As if rest is possible in a household with 2 small children and a husband who demands your presence at dinner parties and social calls. You start to bargain with God. You promise to be a better wife, a better mother, a better Christian, if he will just let you survive this birth. You promise to accept your suffering without complaint. You promise anything and everything. Prayers whispered in the dark while your husband snores beside you and the baby kicks your ribs hard enough to leave bruises. The labor comes early, at 7 months. Too early. You know what this means. The baby is too small. The baby will not survive. Perhaps you will not survive. The midwife comes and looks grim. There is no doctor this time. Your husband has decided it is not worth the expense for what will likely be a dead baby. The labor is mercifully short. 3 hours of agony and then a rush of blood and a tiny, silent baby. A boy, blue and still. The midwife wraps him in a cloth without ceremony. She tends to you, packing you with rags, because you are bleeding too much, always too much. She tells you that you are lucky it was early, that it would have been worse if you had carried to term, that you can try again in a few months. Try again. As if you have been playing a game and lost. As if creating life and watching it die is something casual, something you can just do over like a failed recipe. You name him anyway. Thomas. He is buried in the churchyard in a tiny coffin, and your husband complains about the cost of. There is a small stone, barely marked. The vicar says something about God's will. You stand in the rain and want to scream that God's will seems unnecessarily cruel. That if this is punishment for Eve's sin, then why are women still being punished while men make all the rules? But you do not scream. You stand silent and dripping and empty. The bleeding does not stop properly. For weeks afterward you soak through pads and cloths. You develop another infection. More fever, more delirium, more nights where you are certain you are dying. The doctor is called. He performs another examination, rough and painful. He tells your husband that your womb is damaged, that future pregnancies may be dangerous. He does not suggest preventing future pregnancies. He simply states a fact and leaves. Your husband is frustrated. 3 pregnancies in 3 years, 1 living son, 1 sickly daughter, 1 dead infant. This is not the family he envisioned. He blames you somehow, though he does not say it directly. But you feel his disappointment in the way he looks at you, in the way he does not look at you. You have failed at the one thing women are supposed to do successfully. When you heal enough to resume relations, your husband is less careful than before. Perhaps he no longer cares whether you conceive. Perhaps he hopes the problem will resolve itself somehow. Each time he visits your bedroom, you lie still and pray not to become pregnant again, knowing that prayer is useless, that pregnancy is not something you can control. that your body will do what it will do regardless of your wishes. You do not conceive for 6 months. 7. 8. You begin to hope that perhaps you are no longer fertile, that the damage was sufficient to render you barren. This would be seen as a tragedy by society, but you view it as a reprieve. Then your monthly bleeding stops and you are pregnant again. This time you consider alternatives. You have heard whispers of women who knew how to end pregnancies, herbalists and midwives who provided teas and tinctures. But these methods are dangerous and illegal. If you survive the attempt, and your husband finds out, he could have you committed to an asylum. If you die in the attempt, it will be ruled suicide, and suicides cannot be buried in consecrated ground. You would be damned eternally for trying to save yourself from another pregnancy that might kill you anyway. So you do nothing. You continue as before. You wear the loosening corsets. You endure the sickness. You watch your body swell and rebel. This pregnancy is different, though. You are sick constantly, violently ill. You cannot keep food down. You grow thin everywhere except your stomach. The baby moves less than the others did. The doctor listens for a heartbeat and frowns. He says nothing helpful. Wait and see, he suggests. At 5 months, the baby stops moving entirely. You know before anyone confirms it. The stillness inside you is absolute. You have been carrying death. The midwife confirms it. The baby has died. But labor has not started. Your body is still pregnant with a corpse, and this, the doctor explains, is dangerous. The dead tissue can poison you. You must deliver the dead baby to save your own life. They give you drugs to induce labor. The contractions are as painful as a live birth, but worse, because you know what is coming, what is not coming. No cry at the end. No relief. Just death birthing death. It takes 12 hours. When the baby finally comes, you do not look. You cannot. The midwife takes it away. Another boy, she mentions as if it matters. He is buried in the same plot as Thomas. 2 tiny graves, 2 tiny stones. Your husband does not attend the burial this time. He is tired of death, he says. You do not say that you are tired of it too. Tired of creating it. Tired of surviving it. This time the recovery is longer. The bleeding continues for weeks. You develop complications, scar tissue and adhesions. The doctor performs another examination and announces that you should not attempt pregnancy again, that your womb is too damaged, that another pregnancy would almost certainly kill you. He tells this to your husband, not to you. Your husband nods and thanks him for the information. That night, your husband comes to your room. He tells you that the doctor's advice is inconvenient. He still wants more children, more sons. He has been patient with your failures, but his patience is exhausted. You must try to be stronger, to be healthier. Perhaps if you ate better, rested more, prayed harder, the next pregnancy would be successful. You tell him, for the first time in your marriage, no. You tell him that you cannot do this again, that you will not. You tell him that you would rather die than endure another pregnancy. He stares at you as if you have spoken a foreign language. Then his face darkens. He reminds you that you do not have the right to refuse him. He reminds you that a wife's body belongs to her husband. He reminds you that refusal is not only a sin against your marriage vows, but a legal impossibility. You cannot refuse him. The law does not permit it. He proves his point that night. You fight for the first time. You actually fight, pushing and scratching and trying to get away. It makes no difference. He is stronger. The law is stronger. Afterward, you lie in the dark and realize with absolute clarity that you are trapped. There is no escape. There is no door out of this marriage except death. His or yours, and you have no power to cause his. You consider murder. You lie awake and plan it. Poison would be easiest. Arsenic in his tea, administered slowly over weeks so it looks like natural illness. But you cannot access poison. The apothecary would not sell it to you without your husband's permission. And if you were caught, if anyone suspected, you would hang. Murder is one of the few crimes a married woman can be prosecuted for, because murder transcends coverture. You would die on the gallows and your children would grow up knowing their mother was a murderer. So murder is impossible. You consider running away instead, taking the children and fleeing to another city, another country. But you have no money. Every penny is your husband's. You cannot withdraw funds from any bank. You cannot sell your jewelry because it legally belongs to him. You cannot pawn your dresses because a woman selling expensive clothing would be questioned, suspected of theft. And even if you could somehow get money, where would you go? A woman traveling alone with children would be noticed, questioned, returned to her husband. The law would ensure it. He owns you. The police would help him recover his property. You are trapped as thoroughly as any prisoner, more thoroughly, because your prison has no walls, no bars, no visible restraints. Your prison is the law itself, and everyone enforces it. Your family would return you. The church would condemn you. Society would shun you. Even other women, especially other women, would judge you harshly for abandoning your sacred duties. The despair settles over you like fog. You move through your days mechanically. You care for the children because they need caring for, not because you feel maternal love. Your daughter Catherine is 3 now, small and sickly and prone to coughs that worry you. Your son James is 5. Sturdy and loud and increasingly like his father. You watch him order the maids around and feel a complicated mix of love and resentment. He will grow up to be a man in a man's world. He will never know this suffocation. Your husband's visits to your bedroom continue despite the doctor's warnings. You endure them with the same numb resignation you feel about everything else. You do not become pregnant again immediately, and you do not know if this is luck or if your damaged body is finally refusing to cooperate. Either way, you are grateful for the reprieve. The social obligations continue. You must entertain. You must pay calls. You must attend dinners and theatre performances and church services. You must smile and make small talk and pretend that your life is normal, acceptable, even enviable. Other women look at you with something like pity disguised as sympathy. They know. All the married women know. They have endured their own versions of this. But no one speaks of it directly. To complain about one's marriage is to admit failure, weakness, unwomanliness. You develop friendships of a sort with other trapped women. You take tea together and discuss safe topics: children, servants, recipes, fashion. But sometimes, in the pauses between words, you see the same exhaustion in their eyes that you feel in your bones. Once, Mrs. Henderson mentions that her husband has taken a mistress. She says it casually, as if discussing the weather. She says she is almost relieved because it means he bothers her less. The other women nod. No one seems shocked. This is normal. Men have needs. And if they fulfill those needs elsewhere, their wives can rest. This is considered a blessing. You ask, daringly, if any of them have considered leaving. The room goes silent. Mrs. Henderson looks at you with something like alarm. Leave? Where would we go? With what money? And the children? We would lose our children. Divorced women cannot keep their children. The law gives custody to fathers automatically. Even if the father is cruel, unfaithful, violent, he still gets the children because he is the legal parent, and the mother is legally nothing. The word divorced hangs in the air like a curse. Divorce is not merely difficult, it is nearly impossible. Until recently, it required an act of Parliament, literally. Even now, with the new divorce laws, a man can divorce his wife for adultery alone. But a wife must prove adultery plus cruelty or desertion or incest. One sin is not enough. A woman must be betrayed in multiple ways before the law will acknowledge her suffering. And even if she can prove her case, if she can afford the ruinous legal fees, if she can withstand the public scandal, she loses everything: her children, her reputation, her place in society. She becomes a social pariah, unfit for polite company, suspected of depravity simply because she dared to leave. So no one leaves. You all sit in Mrs. Henderson's drawing room and sip tea and discuss the weather and go home to your separate hells. Your daughter develops a persistent cough that winter. You call the doctor repeatedly. He prescribes tonics and bed rest. The cough worsens. Catherine grows thinner, paler. She struggles to breathe at night. You sit with her, holding her small fevered body, listening to her wheeze and rattle. Your husband complains about the doctor's bills. He suggests that perhaps you are coddling the child. That fresh air and discipline would serve better than constant medical attention. Catherine dies on a Tuesday morning in March. She is 4 years old. She suffocates slowly over the course of 3 days, while the doctor does nothing helpful, and your husband refuses to pay for specialists. You hold her at the end, feeling her small heart stop, and something inside you stops as well. The funeral is small. Your daughter is buried next to her brothers. 3 graves now, 3 stones. 3 children you grew and birthed and lost. Your husband is annoyed by your grief. He suggests you should be accustomed to loss by now, that dwelling on it is morbid and unhealthy. He tells you that you can have more children, that Catherine was sickly anyway, weak, probably better that she died young, before consuming more resources. You stop speaking to him except when absolutely necessary. He does not notice or does not care. Your son James is confused by his sister's absence. He asks where Catherine has gone. You tell him she is in heaven with God. He asks why God wanted her more than you did. You have no answer. The grief is physical, a weight in your chest that makes breathing difficult. You understand now why Victorian mourning customs are so elaborate. The black clothing, the covered mirrors, the restricted social activities. They give permission to show externally what you feel internally. You wear mourning for a year, then half mourning for another 6 months. The black crepe is heavy and hot and uncomfortable, and you welcome the discomfort. It matches your internal state. Your husband resumes visiting your bedroom after a respectful 3 months. You are still deep in mourning. You do not want him near you. But wanting does not matter. He reminds you that you still have duties, that life continues. That brooding will not bring Catherine back. You lie still while he uses your body, and you think about nothing. You have perfected the art of being absent while physically present. You do not conceive. 6 months pass, then a year. Your husband grows concerned. Perhaps you are barren now, ruined by the difficult births and losses. He consults doctors. They examine you like livestock, rough and clinical. They conclude that your womb is damaged but not completely destroyed. Pregnancy is still possible, they say, though increasingly unlikely and increasingly dangerous. Your husband receives this information with frustration. You receive it with relief so profound you nearly weep, but the relief is temporary. Your husband decides that if you cannot provide more children, you are failing in your primary purpose. He becomes more critical, more demanding in other areas. Your household management is never satisfactory. Your appearance is never quite right. Your conversation is never interesting enough. You are a disappointment. And he makes sure you know it through 1,000 small cruelties. He stops being discreet about his mistress. He comes home late smelling of perfume, and does not bother to explain. Once you find a love letter in his coat pocket, while instructing the maid on laundering. You read it, feeling nothing. The woman writes about his strength, his intelligence, his passion. She signs it, your devoted Kitty. You wonder if she knows he has a wife. You wonder if she cares. You consider confronting him, but what would be the point? Infidelity is not grounds for you to leave him. It is barely grounds for social disapproval. Men are expected to stray. Their sexual appetites are considered natural, healthy, requiring outlets. Wives who object are considered prudish and unreasonable. Wives who accept it with grace are considered admirable, mature, properly feminine. So you accept it. You say nothing. When he comes to your room now, you are grateful it is infrequent. When he touches you, you are grateful it is brief. This is what your marriage has become: gratitude for small absences of pain. Your son James is 8 now, preparing for school. Your husband has enrolled him at a prestigious boarding institution. You will see him perhaps 3 times a year. You protest weekly. James is your only surviving child. You do not want him sent away. But your husband reminds you that you have no say in the boy's education. The law gives fathers complete control over their children's upbringing. You are merely the mother. You birthed him, and that is where your authority ends. When James leaves for school, you stand in the hallway and watch the carriage take him away. He does not look back. He is excited for this new adventure. You are 42 years old. You have birthed 4 children. 3 are dead. 1 is leaving, and you are more alone than you have ever been. The house feels enormous and empty. Your days stretch out with no purpose. You are not allowed to work. Respectable married women do not work. You are not needed for childcare. James is gone. You are not consulted on household decisions. The housekeeper manages everything. You are ornamental, decorative, expensive and useless. You try to find meaning. You do charity work, visiting the poor, distributing alms. But even this is constrained. You cannot give away money without your husband's permission. You cannot make decisions about which charities to support. You can only execute tasks assigned to you by men who run the charitable organizations. You are a volunteer worker with no authority, no autonomy, no voice. You attend lectures at a women's improvement society. They discuss literature and philosophy and current events. It is thrilling to think about ideas again, to use your mind for something beyond household management and social niceties. But when you mention the lectures at dinner, your husband forbids you to continue attending. Such societies, he says, are breeding grounds for dangerous ideas. Suffragists and radicals attend them. You are not to associate with such women. You stop going. You have no choice. He controls your access to the carriage, to money, to everything. Without his permission, you cannot go anywhere or do anything. The years pass with crushing sameness. You age. Your health declines. You have chronic pain from the damaged births, from the scarring and tearing that never properly healed. You have headaches that last for days. You have digestive troubles from years of tight corsetting. You have melancholy that the doctors cannot explain and will not treat effectively. They prescribe tonics and rest and cheerful thoughts, as if depression can be cured by wanting to feel better. Your husband ages too, but differently. He grows distinguished, silver at the temples. He is respected in his business community. He serves on charitable boards and social committees. He has status and authority and respect. You have none of these things. You are simply his wife, growing older and more invisible with each passing year. James comes home from school for holidays. He is becoming a stranger, a young man shaped by his father and his school and his all-male world. He speaks to you politely but distantly. He does not confide in you. When you try to talk to him about his life, his studies, his hopes, he gives brief answers and then escapes to his father's study. You are losing him, have already lost him, and you realize that this too is by design. Sons are raised to leave their mothers, to join the world of men, to see women as inferior beings to be protected and controlled, and ultimately dismissed. You attend a lecture, secretly, at the Women's Improvement Society. You lie to your husband about where you are going. Say you are visiting Mrs. Henderson. The lecture is about women's property rights. The speaker discusses the Married Women's Property Act, newly passed, which allows women to own property separately from their husbands. It is a small change, the speaker says, but it is progress. For the first time in English law, married women are being recognized as separate legal entities. You listen and feel something stirring inside you that you thought was dead. Hope, maybe, or anger, or both. The speaker talks about how much further there is to go. How women still cannot vote. How we still cannot serve on juries, or enter most professions, or attend universities. How we are still legally subject to our husbands in almost every way. But she says that change is possible, that women are organizing, fighting for their rights, that the world will not always be this way. After the lecture, you talk to other women. Some are unmarried, which gives them more freedom. Some are widows, which gives them even more freedom. Widowhood is the only state in which a woman has full legal rights. Some are married like you, trapped but still hoping, still fighting in small ways. One woman tells you about a support network for women fleeing abusive marriages. They help women hide, find work, start over. It is dangerous and illegal to help a wife leave her husband, but they do it anyway. You think about this. You think about leaving. You are older now, less afraid of scandal. Your son is nearly grown. You have no other children to lose. What is keeping you here except habit and fear? Money, you realize. Always money. You have no money. The new property law does not help you, because you owned nothing when you married. And everything acquired during your marriage belongs to your husband. You have no inheritance. Your father left everything to your brothers. You have no skills that would make you employable. You have been trained for nothing except being a wife, and you have failed even at that. So you stay. But something has shifted. You have seen that other women are fighting. You have heard that things can change. It does not make your daily life easier, but it makes it more bearable somehow, knowing that your suffering has a cause beyond God's will or your own inadequacy. You are not suffering because you deserve it. You are suffering because the law and society have constructed an elaborate system to ensure that women suffer, to keep you powerless, dependent, controllable. This knowledge is both liberating and enraging. You cannot act on your rage. You have no outlet for it. But you can feel it, can nurture it, can let it burn inside you instead of the cold numbness that has consumed you for so long. Your husband notices the change in you, though he cannot identify what has changed. You are less compliant, less apologetic. You speak your mind occasionally, carefully. You refuse some of his demands, the ones that do not matter legally. You will not wear that dress. You will not invite those people. Small rebellions. Meaningless perhaps, but they make you feel less like a ghost. He does not like it. He increases his criticism, his control. He monitors your comings and goings more carefully. He questions the servants about your activities. He reads your letters before they are posted. He is trying to crush whatever spark he sees rekindling in you. But you are careful. You hide your thoughts. You continue attending the women's society meetings, but you tell him you are visiting various friends, and you ensure those friends will lie for you if asked. You are learning to be sneaky, to carve out small spaces of freedom within your cage. You start writing. Not letters, not anything that could be discovered and read, but a journal, a chronicle of your life, your thoughts, your rage. You hide it in the back of your wardrobe, wrapped in old petticoats. You write late at night, when your husband is asleep or out. You write about everything: the births and deaths, the pain and fear, the legal injustices, the daily humiliations. You write about the other women you have met, the ones who are fighting for change. You write about hoping, cautiously, that maybe your granddaughters, if you have any, will live in a different world. The writing helps. It gives you purpose. It makes you feel less like a victim and more like a witness. Documenting a crime. This is a crime, you realize. What has been done to you, to all women? It is a crime against humanity disguised as natural law and divine order. Men wrote the laws that enslave you. Men interpret the scriptures that justify your enslavement. Men profit from your unpaid labor, your reproductive capacity, your emotional support. And men tell you that this is how it should be, how it must be, how it has always been and will always be. But it will not always be. The women at the Improvement Society are proof of that. They are organizing. They are writing pamphlets and giving speeches. They are demanding the vote, access to education, the right to work and own property and control their own bodies. They are being mocked and arrested and forced, fed in prisons. But they are not stopping. You cannot join them publicly. You are too afraid, too trapped. But you can support them privately. You donate money. Small amounts you manage to save from your household budget, without your husband noticing. You copy their pamphlets and distribute them discreetly to other women. You attend meetings when you can. You do what little you can, and it is not enough. But it is something. Your husband's health begins to fail. He is 60 now, overweight and sedentary. He develops heart trouble. The doctor prescribes rest and dietary changes. You oversee his care with the same mechanical efficiency you apply to all your duties. You do not hope he will die, exactly. You do not pray for it. But when you imagine widowhood, you feel a flutter of something that might be anticipation. As a widow, you would have rights. You would control any money he leaves you, though you suspect that will not be much. You would be able to make your own decisions, go where you want, spend your time as you choose. You would be free, or as free as an older woman with no money and no family support can be. But your husband does not die. He recovers enough to resume his life, though at a slower pace. He retires from active business, but maintains control of investments and property. He is home more, which means you have less freedom. He watches you more carefully, suspicious perhaps that you might be hoping for his death. You are very careful to seem like a dutiful, concerned wife. You bring him tea and adjust his pillows and read him the newspaper. You perform your role flawlessly. James finishes school and begins working in his father's business. He is 20 now, confident and entitled. Every inch his father's son. He barely speaks to you except to make requests that sound like commands. Bring tea. Have the servants press this suit. Tell cook I will not be home for dinner. He has learned to treat you as you are treated by his father, as a servant with a courtesy title. You wonder if he will marry, if he will trap some young girl the way you were trapped. You want to warn her, whoever she is, but what would you say? How would you even begin to explain? And would she listen? You would not have listened at 17. You thought you knew what marriage was. You thought it would be love and partnership and mutual respect. No one told you the truth. The truth is that marriage for women in this time is legal slavery dressed in white lace and orange blossoms. You sign away your rights at the altar. You promise to obey, and you will obey, whether you want to or not, because the law enforces your promise. Your husband can beat you, and it is not a crime unless he causes permanent injury. He can rape you, and it is not a crime at all, because you are his wife. He can take your children, and you have no recourse. He can spend your money, sell your belongings, control every aspect of your life. And this is all legal, proper, ordained by God and enforced by men. And if you object, if you complain, if you try to leave, you are the problem. You are hysterical, ungrateful, unwomanly. You are the one who needs to be fixed or controlled or locked away. Asylums are full of women whose only madness was wanting freedom. Husbands can commit wives with ease. A doctor's signature and a husband's word, that is all it takes to lock a woman away forever. You know women this has happened to. Mrs. Crawford, who complained too loudly about her husband's gambling, was sent to an asylum for nervous hysteria. She has been there for 3 years. Her children have forgotten her. Her husband has taken a mistress into the house. This is legal. This is acceptable. This is marriage. You are careful never to complain too loudly. You are careful to maintain the appearance of sanity, of contentment, of proper feminine submission. You smile when expected. You nod when appropriate. You keep your rage hidden in your journal, in your private thoughts, in your careful, coded conversations with other trapped women who understand. The new century approaches. People talk about progress, about the modern age, about how much has changed. But you look around and see that nothing fundamental has changed for women. You still cannot vote. You still have few rights in marriage. You still die in childbirth at horrifying rates. You still have limited access to education and employment. The cage has been repainted and perhaps made slightly larger, but it is still a cage. You are 50 now. Your husband is 65. You have been married 33 years. You have survived 4 pregnancies, 3 dead children, countless marital rapes, decades of legal non-existence. You are tired in your bones. You are angry in your soul. You are alive, barely, diminished, but not extinguished. Sometimes young women visit, daughters of friends, nieces. They are excited about their upcoming marriages. They show you their engagement rings, and their hope shines like the diamonds on their fingers. You want to warn them. You want to tell them the truth. But you do not. What right do you have to crush their hope? Let them have a few more weeks of innocence before they learn what you learned. Let them believe in love a little longer. But sometimes, when the opportunity arises, you say small things. Make sure you keep some money aside if you can. Make sure you have friends you can trust. Make sure you know where help is if you need it. Vague warnings that they probably do not understand, but might remember later when they need to. You attend a suffrage rally, secretly. You stand at the back of the crowd and listen to women demanding the vote. They are called all sorts of names: unnatural, unfeminine, hysterical. They are pelted with rotten vegetables. The police threaten to arrest them. They stand firm. They keep speaking. You watch them and feel proud and terrified and inspired. One of the speakers is a young woman, maybe 25. She talks about her mother, who died in childbirth. She talks about her grandmother, who was trapped in an abusive marriage. She talks about breaking the chains that have bound women for centuries. She talks about a future where women have the same rights as men, where marriage is a partnership, not a prison, where motherhood is a choice, not a mandate. You listen and weep. Not sad tears, though there is sadness. Not happy tears, though there is hope. These are tears of rage and recognition and release. This young woman is saying everything you have thought, everything you have felt, everything you have hidden for decades. She is saying it loudly, publicly, dangerously. And people are listening. After the rally, you go home and write in your journal. You write about the young suffragist. You write about your hope that women, like her, will succeed where your generation could not. You write about your 3 dead children and wonder if your daughter, had she lived, might have grown up to be a woman like that, fierce and free and unafraid. You hide your journal again. You prepare dinner. You smile at your husband. You perform your role. But inside, something has shifted permanently. You are not just enduring anymore. You are witnessing. You are remembering. And someday, somehow, your story will matter. Not just your story, but all the stories of all the women who suffered in silence, who survived impossible situations, who kept going because there was no choice but to keep going. Your husband dies when you are 55. A heart attack, sudden and final. You are summoned to his study where he has collapsed at his desk. He is already dead when you arrive. You look at his body and feel nothing. No grief, no relief, nothing. He was a stranger who owned you for 38 years. Now he is a stranger who is dead. The funeral is well attended. People speak of his business acumen, his charitable works, his respectability. They offer you condolences. They tell you that you were a good wife to him. You nod and accept their words, and inside you are screaming. The will is read. He has left most of his money to James. You receive a small income, enough to live modestly. The house goes to James. You are permitted to live in it until you remarry or die. This is generous, the lawyer tells you. Some men leave their widows nothing. You do not feel grateful. You feel cheated. You gave this man 38 years of your life, your body, your health, your children. And in return, you receive a small income and permission to live in a house that should have been half yours anyway. But you are free. Legally, finally, free. You can sign documents now. You can control your own money, meager as it is. You can go where you want without asking permission. You can make your own decisions. You are 55 years old, and this is the first time in your adult life that you have had basic human rights. The freedom is disorienting. For weeks you barely leave your room, overwhelmed by the sheer possibility of choice. Then slowly, carefully, you begin to build a life. You attend the Women's Improvement Society openly now. You join the suffrage movement. You write letters to newspapers under a pseudonym. You donate your small income to causes supporting women's rights. You do all the things you could not do while married. You connect with other widows, women who understand this strange liberation that comes from a husband's death. Some of them are genuinely grieving. Some, like you, are simply relieved. All of you are navigating this new reality of being legal persons again, of having rights and autonomy and voices. You start speaking publicly, telling your story, testifying to the horrors of coverture and the need for reform. Some people are shocked. Some are sympathetic. Some accuse you of being bitter and ungrateful. You do not care. You spent 38 years caring what people thought, molding yourself to their expectations, hiding your truth. You are done hiding. The suffrage movement is growing stronger. More women are joining. More men are supporting them. The arguments against women's suffrage sound increasingly absurd, that women are too emotional, too irrational, too pure to dirty themselves with politics. You listen to these arguments from men who beat their wives and rape their servants, and you want to laugh at the hypocrisy. You work tirelessly. You organize meetings. You distribute pamphlets. You march in demonstrations. You are arrested once for disturbing the peace. You spend a night in jail, and it is uncomfortable but also exhilarating. You are finally doing something, finally fighting back, finally refusing to accept the world as it is. Your son James is horrified by your activism. He tells you that you are embarrassing him, that you are disgracing your husband's memory, that you should behave like a proper widow. You tell him that you spent your entire marriage behaving properly, and look what it got you. He stops speaking to you. You miss him, but you do not stop. You write a pamphlet about marital rape, about how the law gives husbands absolute control over their wives' bodies. It is controversial. It is condemned from pulpits. It is discussed in Parliament. Women read it and write to you, thanking you for giving voice to their experiences. Men read it and write to you calling you a whore and a liar. You keep writing. Years pass. The suffrage movement grows. More women demand rights. More men resist. But the tide is turning. You see changes beginning, small but real. More women are entering professions. More women are getting educated. More women are speaking out about abuse and injustice. You think about your daughter, Catherine, sometimes, dead at 4. You think about what her life might have been if she had lived to see these changes. Would she have been a suffragist? Would she have been freer than you were? You hope so. You work toward that hope. You think about all the women you have known who did not survive. Mrs. Crawford still in the asylum. Mrs. Henderson, who killed herself rather than face another pregnancy. The countless women buried in churchyards, their stones marked with sleeping lambs. All of them victims of a system that valued them only for their wombs and their obedience. You are 60 now. You have outlived many of your contemporaries. Your health is poor. Decades of corsets and childbirth and stress have taken their toll. But you keep working. You keep speaking. You keep fighting for the world you wish you had lived in. The world you hope your son's daughters will live in, if he ever has any. You write your memoirs, expanding on your journal. You document everything. The wedding, the marital rape, the childbirths and deaths, the legal non-existence, the suffering and survival. You write it all down, unflinchingly. Honestly, your publisher is nervous about the content, but agrees to print it anonymously. The book is published and causes a scandal. It is banned in some places. It is read eagerly in others. Women write to you, hundreds of them, telling you their own stories, thanking you for telling yours. The book's success emboldens you. You write more about domestic violence, about children taken from mothers, about women locked in asylums for the crime of disagreeing with their husbands. You become a voice for women who have no voice. You become a chronicler of suffering and resistance. The suffrage movement achieves victories, small ones at first. Women gain the right to vote in local elections. Women gain more property rights. Women gain access to more professions. It is not enough, not nearly enough, but it is progress. You see it happening in your lifetime, and you weep with joy and frustration. Joy that it is happening. Frustration that it is happening too late for you, for your mother, for your daughter, for all the women who suffered and died under the old system. You are invited to speak at a suffrage rally, a large one in London. You are 70 years old now, frail but determined. You stand before thousands of women and some men. You tell them your story. You tell them about being 17 and having no idea what marriage would mean. You tell them about the legal non-existence, the marital rape, the dangerous childbirths, the dead children, the decades of suffering. You tell them that you survived but thousands did not. You tell them that the fight must continue until every woman has the same rights as every man. The crowd is silent as you speak. Then, when you finish, they erupt in applause. Women are weeping. Men look shaken. You have told a truth that everyone knew but no one wanted to acknowledge. You have made visible the invisible suffering of married women. After the rally, young women surround you. They want to know everything. How did you survive? How did you keep going? What advice do you have? You tell your stories. All of them. The painful ones, the ugly ones, the ones you are supposed to keep secret. Tell them loudly and repeatedly until people cannot ignore them anymore. Document everything. Bear witness. Survive and then resist. You are 75 when women finally gain the vote. Though it is limited to women over 30 who meet certain property qualifications. It is not full equality, but it is a massive step. You vote in your first election, casting your ballot with shaking hands and tears streaming down your face. You are voting. You have a voice in your government. It took 75 years, but you have finally achieved this basic right. You think about all the women who died before seeing this day. Your mother, your daughter, the women in the graveyards, the women in the asylums, the women who killed themselves rather than continue. You vote for them. You vote for the girl you were at 17, signing away her rights without understanding. You vote for every woman who could not. Your health fails rapidly after that. The decades of damage catch up. You are bedridden, tended by a nurse. Your son visits once, awkward and distant. He has 3 daughters. You hope their lives will be different. You hope they will never know the particular hell of being a married woman in Victorian England. You ask the nurse to bring you your journals, all of them, decades of documentation. You reread your life, your suffering, your survival, your resistance. You think about legacy. Your children are mostly dead. Your husband is long dead, but your words remain. Your testimony remains. Future women will read your story and know what came before them. They will know the cost of their freedom. You die at 77. Your obituary is published in several newspapers. Some call you a pioneering feminist. Some call you a bitter troublemaker who slandered her late husband. You would not care either way. You are beyond caring about public opinion. You are beyond suffering. But your story continues. Your memoirs are republished. Your pamphlets are archived. Historians study your journals. Students read your testimony. Women 100 years later will read about you and feel grateful that they were born in a different time, that they have rights you had to fight for. That marriage is no longer the prison it was for you. And they will also understand that the fight is not over, that there is always more work to do, that every generation of women must push for more freedom, more equality, more justice. Your suffering was not meaningless. Your survival was not passive. Your resistance mattered. Your voice, finally raised after decades of silence, echoed forward through time and helped change the world. This is your story. This is the story of being a married woman in Victorian England, the legal erasure, the physical suffering, the psychological torment, the complete lack of escape, and the eventual, hard-won liberation that came too late for you, but not too late for the women who came after. You were trapped, you suffered, you survived, you fought back, and you won, even though you never got to fully enjoy the victory. This is what it was to be a woman then. This is what marriage meant. And this is why women fought so hard to change it, and why they continue fighting still, because the echoes of that oppression linger, and freedom must be defended in every generation.